Living the Total You with our episode In Focus, Museo Subo. And today, we are very much honored to have with us here our curator who will be taking us around the museum here in Cebu City. Magandang araw sa iyo, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, we are actually introducing our curator here, Miss Cecilia Cabanes. Ma'am, I would like you to show us what you have here in the museum.
Sure. We start off with a little history about the building first.
Yes.
Before introducing you to the different galleries. So basically, the building used to be a jail that was established in 1871.
So in other words, when I was walking around here,
Yes.
I saw that the place apparently looks like a jail.
Yes.
And so it really started as a jail.
It really started as a jail since
And
1871, and it was called Carcel del Distrito de Visayas, and it served as a prison for the whole Visayas region. And then eventually in the 1940s, this was called the Cebu Provincial Jail and the Cebu City Jail. But the city jail inmates were moved to a different facility, and what was left was the inmates of the Cebu Provincial Jail, and it was later on renamed into the Cebu Provincial Detention and Rehabilitation
You're saying,
Center.
Ma'am Maris, na heto pala, when this was a jail, it used to house quite a number of prisoners.
The last count was, I think, 1,000 plus. That was the last count of the inmates. So we have actually around 5 buildings inside, or 8 buildings inside. So those were all the prison cells. And it's a Spanish period structure, so you can imagine that it was not really that kind of big of facility to accommodate 1,000 plus inmates.
But then those who were imprisoned at the time, before it was, transferred, the prisoners were transferred, would you say that even during the pre-colonial time, heto talaga, may mga kasalanan ng mga tao? O kaya naman sa history, sabi, kahit na yung mga katipuneros natin, kahit na yung mga tumulong against the Japanese people, during that war, they were also imprisoned here. Was it right?
Yes, it was. It started during the Spanish occupation, because again, it's 1871, and we have accounts of certain katipuneros who were also incarcerated here, and of course during World War II.
What made the government transform this area into a museum instead of retaining it as a jail?
It was in 2008, as part of the governor, at that time, Governor Gwendolyn Garcia, who is also our governor, our incumbent governor. It was part of her 12-point agenda to promote the rich culture and history of Cebu, because of course Cebu is the seat of colonial history in the whole country, and the governor at the time, she is very much into the promotion, in the promotion of and the conservation of our history as Cebuanos. So she eventually decided to make use of the structure as a museum. And the inmates were all transferred to Barangay Kalunasan.
So, hindi ba natatakot yung mga tao? Can we go take a walk around,
Yeah,
ma'am?
sure.
Would you like to show me around?
Here,
While we're
inside.
walking, ma'am, I would like to ask you a few more
Yes po.
questions. Ano pong nangyari? Yung mga inmates na yan, anong nilipat sila? Sa tingin niyo po ba, pag may pumupunta dito na mga bisita, aren't they kind of afraid na, teka lang, baka may mga namatay na dito na mga preso, and here we are, things like that.
We also get remarks from tourists naman po. The usual, because the structure is very old, so we usually sometimes get remarks of para nakakatakot, but it's more of the fascination that this used to be a jail, and it's a Spanish period jail, and the structure itself, made of coral stones, the design of the building is very Spanish period. So I think it's more of the remark that we often get is fascination more than the fear.
More than the fear. And I can see actually while I was walking around, you can see that this is a coffin. Is that true?
Yes, this is a boat-shaped coffin. We are now inside what we call the pre-colonial gallery, which showcases the period before the Spanish arrived to Cebu. Because
and we even have a bahay kubo there, ma'am.
Yes.
No? So parang nakakatuwa naman na even these ones, paano ninyo nag-gather lahat ito sila so that you would be able to preserve them and keep them here? were all of these things really placed here, or sinabi ba na heto ay mga naipon over the years and then kinuha sila from somewhere and then niligay sila dito?
Yes po, most of these artifacts were donated by, of course, history enthusiasts, collectors who would want to share their collection to the museum. And of course, the University of San Carlos, who generously shared to us most of their artifacts that were also from different archaeological excavations that were conducted in Cebu. This burial coffin, by the way, if we go back to the coffin, this was actually donated to us by Barangay Katmo, Municipality of Katmon. A barangay from the Municipality of Katmon. This was donated by the barangay captain.
Because this was found in their place?
Yes, in their place. And
this dated for how long, ma'am? I mean,
this must be probably around 1400s or earlier. Yes, so pre-colonial, so that's before 1500s.
Yeah, so but you can see the sturdiness of the structure.
Yes,
na preserve talaga siya yung material
yes,
niya.
yes.
No? So heto, from here, from this pre-colonial museum area here, and yung gallery na to, what is the most significant here?
Because for me personally, as a worker of this museum, I appreciate this gallery, this collection, because we know so little about our history before the Spanish came. Most of the history that we know would be about the Spanish occupation, the coming of the Americans, the Japanese occupation.
Pero yung before wala, no?
Yung before wala. So it was because of that that archaeologists, certain scholars here in Cebu were urged to conduct archaeological excavations to further know about the period before the Spanish came. And you can really see that before the Spanish came, we can appreciate na tayong mga Pilipino, may sarili na tayong kultura, may mga paniniwala.
Yes, pag nakita mo yun, you know, it really makes your heart, it warms your heart.
Yes.
Knowing na may identity pala tayo.
Yes.
Hindi tayo yung bang nababalot tayo doon sa, para bang nalunod tayo for all those, you know, conquests that came here. And so parang nawalan tayo ng identity. Would you like to show me the next gallery?
Sure.
Which actually, while we're proceeding there, I would like to ask you on a personal level, ilang taon na po kayo nagtatrabaho dito, ma'am?
I'm working with the museum since 2010. I think it's almost 10 years or 10 years na ba? Since
so medyo
2010.
matagal-tagal na.
Matagal-tagal
so in this
na.
area, ano naman po ang meron dito?
This is the Spanish occupation. So we actually traced first from the pre-colonial gallery and then the coming of the Spaniards. Starting with, of course, the coming of Ferdinand Magellan in 1521. And then the establishment of Cebu as a province in 1569, because Cebu is actually the oldest city in the whole country because of Miguel Lopez.
And it used to be the seat of where the seat of government was, right?
Yes. So eventually we became a province because of Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, where he was authorized to be the governor of Cebu, and then later on he was authorized to conquer other provinces outside of Cebu. One of the highlights, perhaps, of this gallery that I think many people would relate to, especially when it comes to the religiosity, the religious aspect of the Filipinos, would be, I think, the Santo Niño, because of, you know, it's an image which tells us so much about the history of Cebu, about the culture of Cebu, especially
when it comes to religion, right?
When it comes to religion, when you talk about Sinulog, because if you take a look at Sinulog, actually, it's more of the convergence of the pre-colonial culture and the Spanish influence. Because if you have heard of the Sinulog, it's where you dance, right? You offer,
that's right.
Dancing is very pagan. It's very pagan. And then here comes the Spanish influence, the Catholic influence, where you pray. So
they join together.
Yes, it's a convergence of two cultures through the worship of the image of the Santo Niño. And you can find so much about the pre-colonial practices in the Sinulog by looking at those pictures that we have over there.
Napapansin ko nga na ang dami nating mga ganyan, ano.
Yes,
pero aside from the significance of that merging of culture and religion here during this era, what will also stand out?
Cebu was actually, the whole country was actually colonized by Spain for 333 years.
Yes.
So the significance would be how we were established into a society, into a what you call this, the contribution of the Spanish in terms of our religiosity. I think
Which actually, kitang-kita
Yes.
natin, di ba?
Yes po.
Na kung baga tayo ngayon, ay we would say na little brothers nga nila tayo kasi kasama talaga nila tayo, di ba? We'll take a very short break, ma'am, no? And then when we return, we'll continue on the tour of the various galleries, trying to inform and educate our viewers. Kasi heto ngayon, no? Heto yung kulang ng mga kabataan. Minsan, they do not understand where they came from, where they are going, and where they are headed for. So heto ngayon ang ating fini-feature na the Museo Sugbo is actually a meeting of the past and the present, trying to forge our future. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue on with our tour here and a very interesting, journey for us here at the Museo Sugbo. Please stay tuned to Hope Channel. We are still here at the Museo Sugbo, and again, Dynamic Living, the Total You viewers. This is Dynamic Living in Focus with our episode Sugbo, Museo Sugbo noon at ngayon at ang kinabukasan nito. So ma'am, can you please show this to us?
Yes, this is a 1744 map of Cebu. As you can see, Cebu was still spelled with the letter Z. Sugbo actually is a native term for Cebu, which means to dive into water. And then probably, I don't know with the pronunciation of the Spaniards, no, or because
So kailan nag-transition yung pagbabago ng from Sugbo to Cebu? Or do we really get to hear that interchangeably?
the interesting part of it, ma'am, is that in several maps of the island of the Visayas Islands, there were so many variations of the derivations of the name of Cebu. So there were maps where Cebu was called Kabu, Zubu, and here you can see it's Zebu. So through
Even
this,
those
Yes.
years were, there was already that map, no?
Yes.
That was created.
which will also tell us the towns that were established in Cebu during the Spanish occupation. So you can see here that during this period, konti pa lang po yung mga lungsod na na-establish during that time. So we have here a list.
Which is very small pa, no, in terms of
Boloon,
number.
Argao,
Yes.
Karkar, Barile, and then eventually it grew to several number of towns later on. And
Okay,
Bohol
so
was with a J.
where are we going next, ma'am? From
So we will
this-
go to the American occupation.
Okay,
Yes.
please hold on there, dear viewers, as we go proceed to the American Gallery. All right?
Okay.
Please. So, ma'am, what is this area naman? So, nanggaling tayo doon sa Spanish sa
Spanish,
pre-colonial.
yes.
Heto na area na
So,
pinasok natin.
we
Yes.
are now inside the Katipunan, the transition of the Katipunan period to the American
Okay.
occupation. So here we will see about the revolution of the Katipuneros in Cebu. This is very important also because much of what we know in history is very limited to,
Yes, that's
of
true.
course, what happened in Luzon, like
Sa Cavite, parang nandun lahat.
Yes, so we really emphasize in this museum, we really emphasize local history. Who were the heroes during that time? So here in Cebu, we have Leon Quilat, but actually Leon Quilat comes from Negros. His real name is Pantaleon Villegas. He was able to work in a circus that was run by a Katipunero, so that was how he was recruited into the Katipunan.
Pero yung local homegrown from Cebu, sino?
We have several, ma'am. We have Arcadio Maxilum. We have Pantaleon del Rosario.
So
we
these
have
people
Mateo
made
Luga.
a difference also during the times that
Yes.
they were fighting against our colonizers.
And most of them today are street names, wherein the youth don't really realize it na yung mga pangalan pala ng mga
Mga kalye na yan?
kalye, mga bayani pala natin yun. So,
Pero
here, ma'am, I'll show you this. This is actually a list of all the names of the Katipuneros. So if kung Cebuano ka and then mapadpad ka dito, You just look for your family name. Baka may
May
relative
relative
kang,
tayo,
yes.
no? Somebody to be proud
And
of,
then we
no?
were only free from the Spanish for 2 months because eventually we were sold to the US, the Treaty of Paris. We were sold to the US for $20 million and then that's started the American occupation in the country. And in Cebu, this is what happened. We have the Thomasites, of course, they were the American teachers that were sent to Cebu to teach education, basic education, this time using English as the medium of
As a
instruction.
medium of instruction.
And education during this time was already available to all because even to the remote areas, the Americans established different schools like the Gabaldon. I'm sure
Yes.
some of our viewers are familiar with the Gabaldon.
Kaya mapapansin mo, ma'am, no, ang nangyayari dito kaya ang sabi nga nila, ang mga Filipinos are very conversant in English.
Yes.
It's because of that time, no?
Of the influence of the
yung influence nila,
Americans.
at saka talagang they valued education.
Yes.
And made sure that the people were actually taught how to read and
Civil
write,
works
no?
also,
Yes.
and our politics. Over here, we have the Capitol building, no? Of, a little history about our Capitol building, which was established by Governor Sotero Cabahog. He was the governor at that time because the old Capitol can no longer accommodate as many offices inside. So eventually, in 1930s, this guy over here helped
Transferred.
look for funds and to generate income for the establishment of the new Capitol. And this was him with President Manuel Quezon signing the budget. It was just built for 500,000 pesos during that time.
But then, at that time, that was a lot of money already.
At that time, it was a lot of money
Pero siguro
already.
kung ngayon, you're talking about that, you wouldn't be able to build
Yes.
such a huge building, no? So this one naman that we are entering
Opo.
into
We are now
is
entering the Japanese, the World War II gallery. This is a memorabilia of
and the most significant here
Yes,
would
marami
be...
kasing nakaabot ng panahong to. So pag
Yes.
pumupunta dito, ang daming nakaka-relate.
Siguro naman meron ikaw mga visitors sa pumupunta dito na who were part of the time, no? Na
Yes.
siguro napapaiyak o napapaluha sila.
Meron talaga pong napaiyak one time. There was we had a visitor while I was giving her a tour. I thought that she was laughing beside me. When I looked at her, umiiyak na pala siya. So it's a very sensitive gallery. So you really have to be careful on how you deliver
Yes.
this part of.
Okay, so yes.
And the highlight of this gallery would be this one. This is
Daming pera.
Yes, these are emergency notes kasi if you remember tracing our history, we had two governments during the Japanese occupation, the Japanese puppet government, and of course the Commonwealth government. These notes were produced under the Commonwealth government. And because most of the banks were bombed at the time, so the president of the Commonwealth government, Manuel Quezon, authorized banks to issue emergency notes in replacement
And
to the
these are
regular
just
notes that were
representatives
lost.
of that, ano?
Yeah, we got this from the provincial capital when they were trying to renovate one of its rooms. So they found all of this inside. Sadly, I think there were some that were burned during that time na hindi pa masyadong mataas yung awareness ng heritage conservation. So medyo may ibang nauna na nasunog na. But this is what's left, and we still have many of this in our stock room actually. Ito lang yung maganda yung condition niya.
Because the rest hindi in good condition.
So according to a numismatist, Professor Ken Berger from UCLA, I think he's from UCLA, he said that Museo Sugbu has the largest collection of emergency notes in terms of quantity. Kasi kami lang yung may ganitong collection na napakarami.
Yes. Amazing nga ginawa ninyo, ma'am. So, ang matanong ko po kayo, how many visitors or guests do you get to see who, on a daily basis, who would come here and try to refresh themselves on the richness of our culture, of our past, so that these past things that happened to us can actually be a guide to where we are and where we would want to be as a Filipino people?
Actually, in a year, ma'am, we accommodate, kasi hindi pare-pareho every day because we have peak seasons. Museums have peak seasons. But in a year, we cater to 40,000 tourists, no, from students,
I'm just curious,
balikbayans.
do they get to have an entrance fee? Because
Yes,
most
we have.
museums,
Yes,
they
we
do
do
have it.
Yes.
Because that one should be able to help upkeep, maintain the area and for the salaries and wages
Yes.
also.
We do have an entrance fee, but this is also subsidized by the provincial government. So they have they pay for just a reasonable amount, like 10 pesos for the students, for the locals, 30 pesos naman po sa mga adults. But the foreigners, the non-residents, their rate is 75 pesos.
Mura pa din yun.
Yes.
Pero kami ay nagagalak in dynamic living because you accommodated us on a
Yes po.
Sunday and a very
Yes
rainy
po.
afternoon. And here we are trying to tour. Ano naman po ito? Ito yung kanilang mga kasuotan nung araw.
Yes po. Representatives of the period, mga representative items of the period. We have here, this is very interesting because this is owned by Colonel Roman Ibanez. He's a survivor of the Bataan Death March. And you can see here his garment that he wore during the Death March. And we've actually exhibited this because we had a partnership with the Armed Forces of the Philippines because it was also part of their objective to promote history, because that's one way also of inculcating and developing nationalism, patriotism.
Yes, I agree with that.
Isa yan sa mga na, it was actually exhibited outside of the museum, which is rare for the museum to do, to take exhibits outside.
Yes, and so what are your future plans for the museum? Do you
Yes.
intend to expand further, to bring in more memorabilia, or maybe to integrate some of the richness of our cultures from other
Yes.
islands or from other provinces?
We're actually planning on developing the improvement of the museum, because this has been running like this for I think 10 years or more already. So we're planning to upgrade, update the exhibit also. But for the meantime, we are continuing our partnership with different organizations, groups, sector students. We are open to partnerships with local talents in promoting them.
Yes, kasi
yes.
mahalaga yun yung ating mga kabataan.
Yes, ma'am.
And not just mga kabataan natin, kundi the people in the entire world should understand and know where the Filipinos come from, how we
Yes.
are after those
Yes.
incidences in our history, and where we are going to move forward.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking your
Thank
time
you.
with us. And I
Yes.
believe that our viewers understood what we meant when we say Museo Sugbo noon at ngayon, at ang ating kinabukasan. If you are looking for a practical dynamic living, perhaps Cebu is the answer to that quest, because here, the culture, history, religion, nature, and modern living work in perfect synergy to people like you and me. So let's take a short trip in time, Cebu, here and now. Cebu, being the oldest city and the first capital of the Philippines, will definitely not fail you in your expectations. With its view from the top, you'll get a glimpse of Cebu in just one visit: the lush greenery of nature, the intricate city of modern living, the wild water of adventure, and the gentle breeze of its rich history. Spain has brought significant change in once known a kingdom ruled by the Rajas. When Magellan's cross set foot in this island, churches came sprouting here and there with magnificent architectural structure. Looking at them would surely take you to 3 centuries of their influence to religious activities of Cebu. But of course, we can never go wrong with the Filipinos' heart to fight for our right, because Lapu-Lapu and his men defended their land and killed Magellan in the Battle of Mactan. Soon, Not only Spain is bewitched by Cebu's charm, other nations started attacking it. The Fort San Pedro's walls served as the city's defense at the time, and only if walls could talk, it could tell us the rich stories of our past. Another great attitude of the Filipinos is its welcoming spirit, which paved way for the Americans' influence to infiltrate Cebu's culture. Take, for example, this provincial capital. This was patterned after the American capital, and this was inaugurated on June 14, 1938, with no less than the President, Manuel L. Quezon himself, inaugurating the place. Cebu also endured World War II while serving as a Japanese base. Cebuano guerrillas helped American soldiers in casting away the Japanese occupation in the land. And now, Cebu has transformed herself into what people now know as a tourist hub. Surrounded by 167 islands and islets, Cebu attracts thousands of visitors who wish to experience serene nature and modern living. From land to sea, Cebu is overflowing with the blessings of what nature could offer. Night has become an extension of the day when people want more after a day in the sun. And of course, the unique qualities of Cebuanos and its strategic location are the drivers for its commerce and business. And today we know that particularly this area has quite a line of hotels, skyscrapers, and businesses. And this is what makes modern living here in Cebu amazing and a convenient way for each one of them. One cannot even leave Cebu without bringing the pasalubongs for everyone back home to be shared by every person that we care about. This is why Cebu never stays in Cebu, because she goes home with the people she comes across with and reminds them to come back and feel the warmth of her son once again. Learning about our history is important because it allows us to understand the present from our past. If we see the success and failures of the past, we may ideally be able to learn from it and repeating them in the future.